I fear that if people do not approve of me or show that they love me, that it means that I'm worthless and therefore not deserving of love. If I instead acknowledge that I feel this fear and the vulnerability that it presents, then I'm able to consciously move towards it with the courage that I need to be able to overcome it. This is the path to self-worth and self-love. Do not let fear control your life. We may all feel it, but it is acknowledging the fear and the vulnerability it presents to be able to utilize our courage to overcome it. Fear is healed by love. Let's say, for argument's sake, there's only two core primary human emotions that all other emotions stem from: love and fear. All positive emotions stemming from love, and all negative emotions stemming from fear. This isn't to say that fear is completely bad either. Fear has been very useful in our evolution and providing the necessary information we've needed to stay alive. Even to this day, it still can provide very important information that we can choose to act upon. The point is that it should be treated as data points, not as our guiding principles. Whether it's rustling bushes or media outlets, fear is usually the information that we have used to prevent us from dying, a useful tool. But in this day and age, unfortunately, it seems to have been hijacked to steer attention towards certain companies that are then able to turn a greater profit. When this prioritization is made and is consumed on a daily basis, our perspective of the world can turn into one that is pessimistic and dark, filled with cynicism and dread. So it only makes sense that we would feel this need to take greater heed in whatever the current fear that is being espoused as crucial information that is necessary for our continued survival. However, in reality, this isn't the case. Yes, it's good to stay informed and be mindful of world events, but if the majority of the information we consume is primarily negative and fails to appropriately take into account the positive, then that will affect the way that we act in our lives, and therefore how societies ultimately end up acting as well, therefore having a negative effect on both us and our communities. This then translates to the majority potentially furthering campaigns that also prioritize fear, be it immigration or climate concerns or inclusivity or awareness of particular plights people face, as compared to furthering campaigns that prioritize love and being the kinds of people that we all want to be, ones who care and connect with those around us, helping however we can. It's important to note, love doesn't mean gluttony. Love doesn't mean passivity. Love doesn't mean harm. Love means to provide the absolute best care and consideration to something or someone, to provide your best self and support or develop in whatever way makes most sense for it or them, not yourself. To like a flower is to pluck it and put it in a vase for you to see. To love a flower is to water it each day and let it be. So what does this mean for you practically? Do not live in fear. Do not set fearful goals. Recognize why you are doing what you are doing and what your true motivations are, and then set off on a path that is developing your courage towards love. A fearful goal may be to become the best at something so everyone can finally see just how good you are. That is showing that you don't already feel good enough, a very distinct problem of its own. Having a fear-based goal set up may be very effective for a time, but each decision that we make that gives into fear, because it is giving in, it is a choice, will lower our quality of life. It may appear to improve in XYZ objective or physical way, but our subjective experience of that will be tainted with and by the lens of fear. A loving goal may be to do the best you can at something to see how good you can be for the betterment of others and yourself. Therefore, supporting and developing the relationship with yourself and your abilities, a very distinct strength of its own. Having a love-based goal set up may not be as immediately effective for a time, but each decision we make that chooses love will raise our quality of life. It may not appear to improve in XYZ objective or physical way, but our subjective experience of that will be elevated with and by the lens of love. Fear may get you to go faster, but love will get you to go further. Do not fear that you will not be accepted for presenting who you are to the world, because that would be the only true way to be accepted in the first place. But those who do not accept you are on their own journey to self-acceptance. Be kind to them. You check your phone hoping to find a notification that will gratify your sense of self-worth that is reflected in and relying upon the opinions of those around us. If we were able to generate this sense of self-worth from inside ourselves through the actions we take each day and the work we choose to do, both on ourselves and our world, then naturally we would come to find that we would be checking for those notifications less and less. Take responsibility for your own gratification. As difficult as it can be to get out of that cycle of external validation, it simply will never be able to satisfy us, because that's not even what we're looking for. We are looking to be given permission that our existence is justified, but no one else can provide that except ourselves, because no one else has enough data to draw an accurate conclusion. We are with ourselves all the time, especially compared to the time that we spend with others. Their perspective is hopelessly limited, which isn't their fault, and we shouldn't be deaf to feedback, but is in the nature of being alive in the way we are, connected but separate. Do not fear that you have not found a partner in life yet. To fear would only be to push them further away. To love and embrace each opportunity you gain with the courage and respect it deserves only serves to help you. An example of being fearful may be that we act promiscuously, thinking that settling for the cheap alternative to love will eventually get us what we want, where in reality it likely won't, because we likely are afraid of commitment, of the potential costs that it has if we make the wrong choice in person. We then may decide to settle down with someone, because we've developed ourselves enough to prioritize what love really is and accept the potential costs of commitment, even if we end up having made the wrong choice. That vulnerability and courage is what makes love truly special. Our task here is to be as loving as we can, indiscriminately, and when someone comes along that fits into our life, then we can welcome them into an already flourishing one, rather than making them the centerpiece or start of said flourishing. Mark Manson has an incredible quote that I wanted to bring up here. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, regardless of how much money you actually make. The more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of those who surround you. The more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get there. This paradox, this desperation stems from fear. Fear that you're not good enough to have that thing in your life, whatever it is. Fear that without that thing, you would therefore rightfully not be good enough, and that no one should even want to treat you as being good enough. And that is essentially blocking you from whatever it is you're desiring, and even from experiencing any kind of love yourself. As you become more desperate to achieve whatever it is you are desiring, in that process, it highlights and intensifies the feelings of lacking said thing, which in turn results in a negative spiral as compared to a positive one, even if we find ourselves making progress towards our desire. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Confidence may indeed be well rooted in competence. The more data points we get that we are able to solve a problem, overcome a challenge, and ultimately make things work, it does a lot to help define our self-confidence and our ability. However, if that self-confidence is not also rooted in self-love, then it may manifest in unnecessary self-sacrifice, martyrdom, or other dysfunctional patterns. It can be easy to hope that someone is coming to save us, to solve our problems, and to make the fear go away through the security and love they provide. Although this is not the reality, there is no one coming. We are alone in this battle between ourselves and our inner demons. There is only one person that is capable of overcoming the things that life has thrown at us. Ourselves. This is fortunate though, even with how bleak it may sound, because only through this process are we able to build ourselves up, strengthen our resolve and our ability to solve problems and manage conflicts, to become more than that what we have suffered, and to rise above that which has ailed us. If things were easy and there was always something that was able to solve our problems for us, then we would be nothing more than a baby, incapable of being able to interact in any significant way with our environment because of our inability to act. No one blames babies for the way they act, because it's in their nature. They are essentially defenseless to the harshness of life. So we protect and provide for them until the time comes where they're able to defend for themselves, and even hopefully, for their own loved ones. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. So does all of this mean that people in war-torn or third world countries should just instead choose love instead of fear, and then somehow magically all of their problems will be solved? Of course not. Of course it's not that simple. But as long as we as individuals are able to go to sleep each night and know that we were able to do the best we could with choosing love as compared to being bounded by fear, then we can rightfully say that we had a successful day. You can show people your work, bring them into the things that you're doing, and even improve yourself, all without the subtle but strong impact of fear pulling the strings. Choose to be the pillar of light amongst the shrouding darkness. Choose to be the one that holds firm. Choose to be the one that doesn't falter when times get tough. Be strong and have the courage and vulnerability to choose love.